Hey everybody, what is up? This is Kirsten here. Thank you so much for joining me this new episode of the Balanced Vibes podcast. Today we're talking about a tool that is way better for weight loss, fat loss than increasing exercise. So we're going to figure out what that is. What is that tip that you need to do if you want to make your life easier? But I want to tell you, I am feeling really excited right now because we just kicked off our 21-day challenge in my Fit and Fueled Facebook group. And it's been going amazing. It's literally day one, and I'm over here all excited because I'm reading all these Facebook comments and Facebook check-ins. So every day, each participant needs to check in, post their workout or walking photo. This is week one's task, and I'm really excited to see how it's going because we have some great things happening already. Literally, it's day one. It's Monday, June 12th, as I'm recording this. And already this morning, two ladies posted that they hit their deadlift PR, which is absolutely fantastic. One of the ladies posted a picture of her doing dumbbell squats while on a camping trip. So she literally brought dumbbells with her to her camping trip so she can do the workouts and participate in the challenge. So it's great. I love the dedication. I love the group vibe. So I'm really grateful for everybody who was in the group and joined the challenge. If you're not in the Fit and Fuel Facebook group, if you missed out on this challenge, maybe there will be another one towards the end of the year. Maybe right now it's a little too late to join, but that doesn't mean that you cannot join the group. We still have a lot of things going on in the group as well, in addition to the challenge. So I'm always every week sharing their tips and tools and strategies for better health, better fitness, weight loss, fat loss, muscle building, and all that. And I also do 3 live videos there every single week, most weeks. And it's a really good place. All the information is free. The group is free. Sometimes I get that question, what's the cost? Nothing. It's a free group. So join. There's nothing to lose. All right, so let's talk about this tool today. What is it that is better than increasing your exercise, than doing more exercise? Of course, we do have to work out if we want to have a healthy weight loss, fat loss. But also, it doesn't mean that we have to just add exercise, do more and more and more and more, especially more cardio. No, we don't have to do that. And what's better tool than increasing your cardio is to actually just raise your BMR, your basal metabolic rate. How do we do that? We get to that in a second. But before that, I want to just give you some numbers so that you can have a better understanding. You kind of see the perspective here. So about only 5 to 10% of your daily energy expenditure comes from your workouts. Okay, so think about it, only 5 to 10%. That's not too much at all, right? But then when we compare it to our BMR, which is 60%, we see that there's a huge difference. So BMR stands for basal metabolic rate, and that's basically the amount of energy, number of calories that your body, approximately, that your body burns every day, even if you're resting all day long. And this, about 60% comes from there, right? About 60% of your daily energy expenditure. So isn't it worth it then to raise your BMR? It's totally worth it. Okay, so you saw that 5 to 10% comes from exercise, 60% of your daily energy expenditure comes from BMR. So that doesn't add up to 100 yet. So how else do we burn energy? Well, one of the things is something called thermic effect of foods. Basically means that the energy that we need in order to digest and absorb foods, so this actually burns energy. So literally eating burns energy too, and especially eating protein, because the thermic effect of protein is higher than carbohydrates and fats. So I'm not going to say that this determines like a huge portion of your daily energy expenditure, digesting protein, but digesting protein takes more energy than digesting carbohydrates and fats. And another thing that, of course, determines our energy expenditure is our NEAT. So NEAT is non-exercise activity. Basically, it's not even walking. Walking is not NEAT either. NEAT is just, let's say that you're standing up as you are working, or you're getting up, standing up, sitting down, turning, fidgeting, things like that. This is NEAT. So it's exercise, NEAT, thermic effect of food, and the BMR. So these are the four main contributors that determine how many calories we burn each day. And we can see that BMR is the highest by far. So like I said, 60%, right? 60%. So it's totally worthwhile to work on increasing your BMR, your basal metabolic rate. How do we then do it? And you probably know the answer. And we do it by strengthening the body and building muscle, because a body that has more muscle on it is better at burning calories, because we raise our basal metabolic rate when we have more muscle. So you can have two people who weigh exactly the same, but one person has way more muscle than the other person at the same body weight. Then now the person with higher muscle mass is going to have typically higher BMR, right? So it's pretty simple like that. So how do we then build more muscle? We know that this happens through strength training, right? So I usually say about 3 days a week for most women is a good point. Some people do 2, others do 5, but I would say that 3 is optimal for most people. And when you do strength exercises, then you are building, of course, muscle, which will then get you stronger. And there are, of course, other benefits too. For example, you can eat more carbohydrates. Your body will put them into use and use it for energy better if you have more muscle in the body. So a lot of people who for example, struggle with some blood sugar things, they are telling me that I cannot eat any carbohydrates at all because it spikes my blood sugar. Well, first of all, blood sugar is supposed to spike when we eat carbohydrate foods, but it is also true that if you have more muscle in the body, it just puts your carbs into better use. It's going to be used for energy much better than a person who doesn't have much muscle mass at all. So for me personally too, when I had some blood sugar troubles, which I've talked about before, building muscle was one of the game changers. So really you can eat more carbohydrates and more calories in general, because if you have more muscle in the body, your body actually needs more calories. So now you get to eat more food, and you're not going to gain all the weight super quickly the way people think. You may not gain much at all. So let me give you an example here. How often have you heard or maybe said it yourself that, I had one weekend of kind of bad eating, or even just one day of bad eating, and now I'm gonna just weigh a lot more, right? There's a huge spike in my weight, and I just, every time I do that, it's a disaster. So let me tell you, if you're somebody with higher BMR, higher muscle mass, the impact of this one bad day or one not so great weekend is going to be way less for that person compared to the person who doesn't have much muscle mass. You just get away with much more when you have more muscle mass. Your BMR is higher. Remember, about 60% of your daily calories are determined by your BMR. So the person, yes, like I said, having a worse day or not ideal day or full weekend, maybe the weight will spike for a little bit and then it comes back down to where it was normally, and your body weight stays relatively stable all the time, versus the person who doesn't have much muscle mass will have like longer effects from it, and doesn't want to get on a scale. It's terrible. I don't want to see it. And it's going to be the next 3 days. The weight will be higher. So it's definitely worth it to build your BMR with resistance training. Now, what else do we need for the resistance training to be effective? That is, of course, eating enough. Now, we cannot say that the more you eat, the better your BMR is, because I think most women, when we ate, let's say 3,500 calories, would start gaining weight. It's not like you can eat forever and like limitless amounts and it won't do anything for you, or you won't gain weight. Of course you will, but your energy expenditure, your energy intake should still be right for you. So if you are constantly in a calorie deficit, cutting and cutting and cutting and doing maybe these yo-yo diets all the time, you're actually taking your BMR down. Your basal metabolic rate will go down, and you also take away the ability to build muscle. That's why a lot of people who are doing a lot of those diets and they don't pay attention to resistance training either, they don't do that. What they essentially do is just lowering the muscle mass more and more and more and more. And let's say they do it like throughout their 30s and 40s. And now when they get to their 50s, their weight might be up and their muscle mass is down. And that's a really bad place to be. So you want to have high muscle mass always, right? So it's not I can't think of a scenario where this is a disadvantage, especially when we get older. So if you're constantly dieting and not doing resistance training, this will happen for you, and it's not a good thing. What you want to do instead, if you want to be healthy and if you want to have higher BMR, is to do resistance training and eat correctly, eat right, eat enough for your needs, and that means enough calories and that means enough protein, because this is the building material for your muscles. So how much do you eat? How much do you need to eat? I do have a guide for this. It's called Lean Ladies Calorie, Protein, and Workout Guide. You can figure out what your maintenance calories are. And this is where you should approximately be at your maintenance if you want to be able to build muscle. You can also go a little bit above that, eat at surplus, and have even more material for muscle building. But of course, your workouts have to be on point. Otherwise, those extra calories will go more into, storing fats instead of building muscle, because the muscle just doesn't jump on your body by just, doing nothing else but just eating. This is how you gain fat. But if you are eating in a slight surplus and building and doing strength training, you are building muscle. Now, I want to talk about one misconception here as well. And the misconception is that when there's a person who is overweight or even obese, that she must be overeating, right? But you know what? It may not be the case at all. Maybe this person has been dieting a lot and just has gotten to the point where this constant yo-yo dieting has lowered her basal metabolic rate so much that the body actually doesn't want to let go of anything anymore. And also, this person probably doesn't have much muscle mass on them at all. So now we are thinking that this person just doesn't care about what she's eating, is probably eating bad stuff, is constantly overeating, but it may not be the case. The problem is that she's just under muscled and she's been doing constantly yo-yo dieting, and she might be eating like 1400 or 1600 calories and not be in a very good shape at all, right? So, and the problem is that the BMR is so low that she hasn't paid attention to any resistance training and hasn't been feeding her body properly. Now, on the flip side of it, we can see a person who is really fit and really strong and is eating, let's say, 2600, 2700 calories, and the person who doesn't know that might just assume that, oh, she's got to be eating like maybe 1800 calories, 1700 calories, because it can't be that she's having this body composition and the strength and the muscle mass and that looks right if she ate more. But she might really be eating 26 to 2700 calories. It's just that she has a decent amount of muscle mass on her, which burns through energy faster, right? Remember, again, I don't know how many times I've already said this, but about 60% of your energy expenditure is determined by your BMR. So if this person really has good muscle mass, she's been feeding her body properly, she's eating at maintenance or so, then she really might be able to eat 26, 27, 2800 calories and look and feel really good and have a really great health. So it's not always true that a person who is overweight or obese absolutely has to be like overeating and eating poorly, and the person who's in good shape must be eating like a bird. No, it really comes down to their metabolic rate, metabolic health, and how they're able to utilize the food and use it for energy. So this is really what it is. So I hope that this episode encourages you to pay attention to other things than just adding more cardio. I know that this cardio button tends to be the first one we want to push. We're like, okay, I want to lose weight. Let me just go do more cardio. Still, so many people think about that. But no, I would say your first step should, in fact, be raising your basal metabolic rate, and that comes from building muscle. And to build muscle, you of course have to lift weights and also feed your body. And so later on, when you want to start losing body weight and body fat, then your cut is going to be a lot easier because your basal metabolic rate is already higher and you don't have to cut so much and you don't have to feel completely miserable. And of course, when you have put in the time and energy to build muscle, then now when you start reducing the fat percentage, when you go into a cut, then you're going to see like aesthetically so much better results because you have the muscle underneath that is now going to be revealed. This is a process though, and I know that if you've been always under eating, or sometimes I hear people saying that I've been eating low calories for 2.5, 3 years, or yo-yo dieting, or I don't remember when I was not dieting. Yeah, in these cases, it can take a lot of time to build that BMR up. We may have to go very gradually. It really depends on the person. So essentially, I'm talking about the build up phase or the reverse diet. And it really depends on the person. Some people are able to increase relatively fast and get to that maintenance level and just hold steady there for like 4 months, 6 months. And everything's good. Other people may need more time. So if their metabolism is not in a really good place, they have some other issues going on with hormones, well, which usually is the case when we have a sluggish metabolism, then these people may require more time. And sometimes the reverse diet is going to be much longer than what they want. But I will say that this is the way to go about it, because without this, raising this metabolic rate and doing the reverse diet, you're going to get stuck in this yo-yo dieting. You're going to get stuck in eating, under eating. You're going to get stuck in just like looking for the next diet. And the next diet is not going to be there for you. I mean, yes, there are, but I'm thinking like I'm meaning the solution. Like there's no solution. The next diet is never going to solve anything. So what you actually want to do is build a rock solid basal metabolic rate, you guys. It's so important. And you can do that by strengthening the body and feeding the body properly. Uh, Sticking with it, being patient with it, even when it's hard, even when you want to see the weight loss results already. Don't rush it. Rushing the calorie cut is not going to give you the better results. If anything, you actually need to wait a little bit longer, especially if you have a long history with dieting. Wait longer, build the calories up, build them up to your maintenance. Go get my Lean Ladies Calorie Protein and Workout Guide and see what your maintenance should be. Stay there for 4 months, 6 months, maybe even longer, and then go into a cut, because during that time when you are eating at maintenance, you are lifting weights, you're building your metabolic rate, and you're going to get so much better results afterwards. So this is all I got for you today. So thank you so much for being here today. If you have any questions about any of this, please let me know in the comments. This is going to be, of course, on YouTube and on my podcast as well. You can always find me on Instagram, and you're very welcome to join my Fit and Field Facebook group as well. We talk about these things really often. All right, so that's all for you today. Thank you so much, and see you again in the next episode. Bye bye.